Good morning, Mike Shope coming to you from Grand Island, New York. Idyllic conditions today here. Sunshine, temps in the low 70s, that cool waterfront summer breeze. Yacht rock scenes here today. Today, our heroes and I will go sailing through the latest trends and news. Nick Chubb, Houston, Aaron Rodgers, official in Pittsburgh. Chubb, Rodgers, a lot of reminiscing happening there, perhaps. Will James Cook put the pads on in Buffalo? He's here. Time permitting, I think we'll have time. A new feature, Wanted, Dead or Alive, not a yacht rock song, but a song. Do players you might think are dead this offseason maybe still carry a fantasy pulse? Malachi Corley, or is he what a fool believes in? Jalen Polk, I can't go for that. No can do. With Pat Terrain, Jacob Sanderson, and fresh off his recent Eagle 2 on a par 4, Davis Maddock, ADP chasing on a very yachty June 10th, 2025.
ADP chasing is for when you watch ship chasing, you go, these guys are just football guys.
I have my 4% exposure blanket.
Stay poor.
Actually back in if it's Ashane.
Stare into our crystal ball. Close your eyes, all your entries are going to lose anyway.
Yeah, that's fair.
You're not going to tell me how this went. I was here.
It's anti-cabal. It's the best ball thought leaders. I'm obviously lying to some degree because, I have a lot of both of these guys.
It's the most disgusting pick you can make. But, man.
Tapping into our storied past a little bit. Great to see.
Yeah, I heard that Dick Wolf was planning on bringing a lawsuit. So.
It was, yeah. Apparently, I was just supposed to play that one intro one time, which was never going to happen. It was too good. But
little behind the scenes, Pete had to just erase it because he was sick of Terrain clicking the wrong one, which is very funny.
Would have been really funny to get sued by Law and Order.
Yeah.
Oh, the irony of that is rich.
Fair use, I think, right? Fair use.
Yeah.
Forgiveness, not permission, Pat. I think we're fine.
That's right.
Pete, I don't know, revealed on a stream last week that he works out to this show.
Really?
Yeah. Okay. I should start doing that, right?
That can't be optimal. Davis, you know about all the, body hacking stuff. Working out to this show feels like you're leaving something on the table. Right?
So I do listen to podcasts when I'm not training really heavy, like today. It's I'm tired. I played a bunch of golf this weekend. I knew I wasn't going to lift really heavy, so I was listening to a history podcast while I worked out this morning. But yes, if you are because you don't want your brain divided. You don't want to be thinking about the way that the Medicis were dealing with their Milanese opponents while deadlifting really.
Well, do you think
weight.
This is how Pete just completely turns his brain off?
People are saying it more and more. Yeah.
It might be his way of saying, I really don't need to know what these guys are giving me. I just don't really need it.
Yes, I think that's very possible.
I have two groups of podcasts that I listen to. One is I'm interested. I want it. It's an audio book, whatever it is, in the car, when I'm walking, whatever. The other is I'm falling asleep. I've already listened to it. I got to make sure not to mix those so I'm falling asleep to you guys and then missing the show or
I
vice
really
versa.
don't understand the falling asleep to podcast move. Brittany does this.
I do that.
She's done it with scary podcasts.
No.
I've caught some of it. It's like they're descending into some haunted hospital and she's just like,
well,
how is that?
Corinne, this is a really good Twitter bit that people will do is they'll be like, I don't understand why I have such anxiety. What you're listening to before you go to sleep, a true crime podcast, because American people love the true crime podcast. And it's no wonder you're nervous about everything and you don't want to leave the house. You view every situation as a situation to potentially get murdered.
You're pumping it into your subconscious.
Yeah.
Well, then do I want birds and blowing leaves instead? Is that what that's the alternative? One of these?
I mean, I think you're supposed to just be able to quiet your mind.
Yeah, can you just?
Yeah,
I don't quiet my mind.
I don't quiet my mind. I usually fall asleep to a rerun of Law and Order SVU or something.
Yeah. Grey's Anatomy.
That's why you've been so sleepy after
your
the
mother.
intros every week.
Yeah,
I'll do an old ball game.
I hear that intro and I'm just
old sports on YouTube work for me for that too. Just
Baseball, great. Golf, yeah.
Baseball, yeah, that helps. That's real quick. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that for sure.
Yeah.
Davis,
that one I get.
Just quickly, so we don't get in trouble. What was the golf shot that you hold out?
Cut the corner left on a dog leg left. They must have just cut back the trees. So
Are you a lefty or you got to draw?
No, I just aimed left over the corner and got into the second part of the fairway. Like a pretty hard. Was surprised that I did it so well. 60-degree wedge from about 55 yards out. Pin is at the front right corner of the green. One bounce, hit the pin. Because it's above me, so I can't see it. I hear it hit the pin, and we go up, and it's in the hole. We were scrambling, and we were down 2 with 2 holes to play. Got it back to even, and then we birdied 18. So basically, kind of the greatest, like frankly, one of the greatest like
moments of your life. Moments
yeah,
of your life.
Like
Yes.
truly.
That's
like,
a sporting achievement, I would say.
Yeah.
No,
it's a comeback
it was
win.
actually unbelievable.
It is crazy how much like those moments when you have like entirely amateur clutch sporting moments, like you feel like a Greek god.
Like a literal god. Yes. You're like nothing could stop me. It's like I'll be with these buddies that I played with, like we're gonna be talking about this in 20 years. We're gonna be like, do you remember when we were playing? Yeah. So pretty good stuff.
On the other end of the spectrum of not a Greek god doing sports, you might have noticed me just squirming constantly throughout this episode, and you will continue to. I go up for a block playing beach volleyball on Saturday, and I land, and my back is just out, and I'm like 70 degrees, and I'm like, oh my god, this is my future, isn't it? We're like 28, and I can't walk.
Man, a beach volleyball injury, dude.
Tough.
Better than a golf injury.
Not a god. Felt like
better than a golf injury. No one feels.
Golf injury is I'm retiring from life.
That's it.
It's pretty bad.
We're not going to talk about it.
Injury though. The course feels so far away today.
The beach volleyball injury is tough because of the setting of where it occurs, and then what has to happen after. You're like, you're on some sort of public. Was it a beach or was it like? It was a beach, like a sandy. It was an actual beach. Yeah. So that's.
I live in Vancouver.
Literally frolicking.
They are everywhere.
Yeah. So that's not ideal.
I can announce.
Someone said I'm like Michael Pittman. I'm working through the back injury. It's true. You're not getting my peak performance today. I shouldn't be playing, but I'm playing against medical advice, and my targets per route run is going to be dropping precipitously as a result.
And you also have not been texted by Anthony Richardson this offseason. So you and Pittman.
Well, you know what? I think we can put that debate to rest. So it's a debate that we had. It's over. I don't know if you guys saw the latest update. He's consulting with Neil Elatrash on potential surgery options.
Oh, you hear Elatrash and it's over, dude. I put this out on Twitter last week. I said over under career starts, rest of career for 4.5. And I mean, I suppose
Neil Elatrash is waiting to the under.
The answer is either it's 0 starts, rest of career, and that's it, or way over, right? Some other team signs him and he starts for them.
I would take the over on that. I think Mariota got another chance,
Yeah, Mariota got another chance. I mean, did Josh Rosen start games after Arizona traded him? He did, right?
Yeah,
he got traded
like 2 for Miami.
Yeah,
but not 5.
Not 5. No, I mean, it's. I mean, it's done. You can stop drafting Richardson. You could draft Danny Jones.
I hear that name,
Doctor. People are drafting Daniel Jones. Like I went and tried to save him for like a round 18 pick on a draft the other day, and people are starting to take him now like 15, 16 sometimes.
We got him 18th on Best Ball Breakfast yesterday. It's all stacked up. Nice. It's pretty nice. Yeah.
Yeah. It's frustrating because I used to be able to feel like I could just rely on, because I've been kind of taking Jones the whole time, to be honest. And I feel like I could kind of rely on Jones and Rodgers in the 18th whenever I really needed to. And seeing those guys climb up kind of closer to the Darnold range on occasion is because it feels like the only quarterbacks now that I'm 100% sure I can get in the 18th is like Shock, which is like really don't want to be doing that. and Dart, which is kind of a little sketchy too. So
I like Milroe in there as long as you can afford it, just for the playoff weeks, and hopefully you have enough.
What percentage do you think he's playing in the playoff week show, Milroe?
25.
I was gonna say I would take even higher, because it's a it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, like nominative determinism. When you do the injury clause guarantee in the contract for the quarterback, you are basically putting it into the universe that you expect this guy to play so bad that you don't want him to play so that he doesn't get hurt.
That's
right.
Good.
Like it's just the two most recent scenarios where we've had the injury guarantees for the quarterbacks came into play, right? Derek Carr and Daniel Jones, where they both and they there's another one that I'm forgetting, but basically those injury.
I don't think Carr had injury stuff.
They told him to go away, though. Right? Like
Carr was that he was gonna.
He had injury stuff.
I don't think he had injury stuff.
He had to pass a physical thing. Now now
Russ
obviously
for sure did.
Russ for sure.
Russ, yeah.
Yes. So basically, what I'm saying is,
the Seahawks are prepared for it. Like they're even maybe expecting it.
But what I'm saying is, even more than being prepared for it, they are perpetuating it upon themselves. If they if they don't put that in the contract, it doesn't even enter into Darnold. It doesn't even enter into the coaching staff. It doesn't even enter into the front office. Like it just doesn't. But once you put that in, you are then forecasting your own demise as it pertains to Sam Darnold.
Yeah, and Milroe is just enough draft capital for them to want to see it.
Oh, Russell Wilson in Denver, by the way, who did get benched. He had the injury guarantees as well.
Yeah. When I hear Dr. Neil Elatrash, I think of there's got to be, I don't know if there was on this example, but he always, the Schefter tweet on this guy always comes with either the word famed or noted before the word doctor. Famed doctor, Dr. Neil noted specialist. There's like Rappaport with the agents or somebody. There's a line there about how great he is. If NFL players are going to see this doctor, I'm good. I don't really need any sort of elaboration on that.
Right.
I feel like this probably well respected.
He's one of like two surgeons that every NFL fan knows. It's like Neil Elatrash and James Andrews.
James Andrews, yeah.
So every time I hear his name, Elatrash, I mean, one, that's a crazy name. But there is the second chapter of Infinite Jest. There is a medical attaché, which that is the only time in my life I have ever encountered that word, really, because it's a French Canadian word. And I hear Elatrache and I always think medical attaché, and it's a crazy, obviously it's an Infinite Jest. So the scene that the guy's in is absolutely insane. And so I just always put those two hand in hand. Point being, you don't want to hear that name. You don't want to hear that.
Don't want to hear it.
You really don't want to hear it.
I think I'm not at any. I hope I'm not at any risk of being fired during an episode. But to last week's Davis, beautiful reference to the slappy flag, the Travis Hunter slappy flag. Daniel Jones in the puppy butt superflex. I have gone 40 picks above ADP to pick. Daniel Jones.
I mean,
so he the day the contest opened, he was the stone best pick. I got him in the 13th round in like 3 drafts. He is the stone best pick.
He was
in that contest.
ADP over 100. I think today I saw 88, but I was drafting him in the 60s because I want to, backfill my quarterbacks. And like you get to a point where there's no other choice. It's just, but maybe I'll get 17 starts and I'll get some rushing upside. Had to do it. It felt terrible. Had to do it.
I think 17 starts is firmly in play. I think the Colts are going to have the most like just depressing, soul-crushing season imaginable. Like I think 9-8 with Daniel Jones is firmly on the table.
Well, if there's surgery in play, I mean that's 17 games right there, right?
Yeah, I mean we don't know if it's going to be surgery, but he's seeing a surgeon for a second opinion, which I mean the indication would be that surgery is in play.
House has to be in play. It doesn't mean it's gonna happen, but
you got this DM from Crack Rock, right? He sent this. Crack Rock sent us.
He sent
this DM that is basically saying what he knows is that it's an old injury. It's the injury that never recovered. He never because he didn't have surgery on it to begin with, and it just
that's why he's seeing
never healed.
Elatrash, because that's the surgeon that worked on him with the initial injury after the Titans game in year one.
Crack rock for me is when he tweets 100% that'll be right.
I don't think you've read all of Crack Rock's tweets, but he does have some bangers. I'll give you that.
Directionally accurate.
His Viking stuff has been 100% accurate.
Yeah,
but I wouldn't say. I think it like truly depends on which team it is and how seriously the owners are taking Mr. Rock at Mar-a-Lago or wherever.
I don't think he's hanging out with the triarchy of cult women now.
Right, but
no,
the Vikings. It sounds like the Vikings people, for whatever reason, like to tell Mr. Rock what's up.
Yeah, he's like he's I don't know, like the anonymity of his Crack Rock handle. He's like describing like where he's standing, who he just talked to, on putting it on Twitter. I'm like, how is this holding? But thank God it is.
What a game he's running! Like they still don't know that he's out there telling the world what's going to happen to these teams. Like what a genius!
I love it. I love it. I mean, he had the Woody Johnson, Aaron Rodgers scoop where he just like found Woody Johnson in a restaurant and like approached him and was like, "Hey, you gotta get Rodgers." And Woody was so startled that he kind of said yes.
That is crazy.
It's just so good, man. It's so good.
He's that unassuming. He's that unlikely a character to be somebody that would like report on whatever he's finding out.
Right. You know,
they'll just tell him. They'll just tell him. I got to try for that. That's genius stuff.
It's good stuff, man.
All right. Unless you want to go over a couple like minicamp news things, we can go right to Risers. I mentioned in the open, James Cook is in Buffalo reportedly. I don't know yet whether he'll be in pads, but interesting that he's here with as public as he's been, about wanting a new contract. How do you show up for this?
Well, he's trying to sell his house, right? Maybe he's meeting with potential buyers.
Yeah, maybe. We might find out during the course of our show whether he's like actually, taking part in practice.
Right.
Risers.
Please get us a picture of James Cook photoshopped as a real estate agent. Like,
or, showing people around the Maid of the Mist, running a tour on the Maid of the Mist in the fall.
If the Bills trade for Tyler Lockett, that's very bad news for James Cook's status. He'll definitely be able to move that house.
I just saw a former baseball player who literally retired from baseball to be Alex Kirilloff, a Minnesota Twin, who's now just a full-time real estate agent.
Why not? Yeah. Here's the list.
Like one best ball season from that, right?
Real estate's tough, brother.
Aaron was able to do it while being a professional receiver.
That's true. Insurance is the hot market.
Aaron Rodgers tops the list because we didn't think he was going to sign. Maybe DK Metcalf, his new number one receiver.
This is a classic case of everybody being
of double counting.
The thing that every single person knew was going to happen happened, and then
Metcalf's
going off and Rodgers.
With the Rodgers thing, I would say that's fair if you're going to say like for Metcalf, like it doesn't really move the needle for me on Metcalf so much. Like Aaron Rodgers was going to sign, but for Rodgers himself, there was like. Unless you got boxed out a quarterback, why were you bothering with Aaron Rodgers? The small percent chance that he didn't actually sign. Okay, I wasn't. I really wasn't. I mean, because it's like, what do you win when you win? And the loss is he doesn't play football this year. So I do think it makes sense for him to rise. Just you remove that small chance of just
fair enough
a total zero all year, which really hurts you. So yeah,
it just felt so locked in. Like I just didn't buy for a second that the Steelers would have gone about the rest of their offseason the way that they did if they didn't know that Aaron Rodgers was coming there.
Yeah.
No, I disagree. So I disagree for a couple of reasons. First being they've dead ass gone into a season with this quarterback room roughly before. Two, Kirk Cousins was out there and is still out there if some team gets desperate enough, I think. So I disagree.
Helmet, brother.
I disagree that it had to be I disagree that it had to be Rodgers. Now, was it ever going to be Mason Rudolph, Will Howard? No, that I disagree with. I think it could. They were unlikely to just do that.
I agree with that. Well, they did have one other out.
I'm more with Jacob. It was never, I guess you can't say it was 100%, but it was high 90s, I think. Like every intel from Pittsburgh was they're just going to do that. Ownership wants it, and maybe Tomlin wants it. They'll do it. And Rodgers, you know his story. He's not going to come to anything early. So even a little bit surprising that it's done this early, I think. But I don't know.
Yeah, I would have said there's like a 3 to 4% chance that Rodgers just like was like, actually, no, I'm not playing. Yeah, and I was just like, I just don't want to deal with that. Like now I don't have to deal with it. I can treat him like a normal quarterback, on the field, and it's much easier for me to take him.
I don't think the guy could stay away. Just couldn't stay away.
Yeah.
What about Metcalf?
He's not that bad. I mean, let's just be clear. He can't move. He cannot move, so that is a big issue, and it's the reason why the Steelers will not be serious. But he's still very accurate. He still throws like a pretty strong deep ball. He still is really good at recognizing cover. Like I would say, we've seen a ton of this. These guys who played during the first iteration of the Tampa 2 have like a real advantage, right? I mean, we saw like Flacco come in from the cold. We've seen Geno really excel. So these guys who played in the first iteration of that,
does Geno count? Geno got benched so quickly. I don't know how much Tampa.
Well, Geno played against that in college too, in West Virginia.
Okay,
but Dalton came in, spun it up. So I expect Rodgers to be pretty good per attempt. Now there's going to be 23.7.
Well, that's the.
Yeah. I think the key with Rodgers is though, like I think he's physically fine. I mean, he can't move, but arm-wise, he's physically fine. It's just, I think the issue is he's no longer like Aaron Rodgers, the quarterback, I think is actually still okay. Aaron Rodgers, the offensive coordinator, is a disaster. He's such a good quarterback that like he could overcome some of the limitations of the offense because if it wasn't there, he could extend and dance around. Whereas that's gone. And last year, I just thought he was like the offense that he insisted on running was so stagnant and he had no improvisational skills. So it was just a shit show. Whereas, if somehow like he's, I mean, I don't know if it's possible. I don't know if it's possible for Aaron Rodgers to be humbled. But if he could be humbled,
the preponderance of evidence suggests
degree,
if you're
he actually lets Arthur
Smith season counsel on
play.
Humility from Aaron Rodgers, there's always 2026, buddy.
Yeah, fair enough. I don't know if he just lets Arthur Smith do his job and Rodgers does his job. I think that they could actually make this work. But I guess I don't know that I want to run the Nathaniel Hackett offense. Then who cares?
If you were putting Rodgers somewhere, like wouldn't you put him like on the Lions or something? Like like obviously they wouldn't do that, but it's like you'd want him to be in. I mean, honestly, like a LaFleur. The guy he used to be with, that's more the guy I would want him with. And then behind a really good offensive line.
Well, Pat, Minnesota was a rumor. We needed JJ McCarthy to be introduced to Dr. Neil Elatrash. Then maybe you would have that, and that would have been pretty close to perfect.
That would have been pretty close to perfect.
It sounded like KOC had no interest. Right.
Well, good for because KOC.
I felt like it was like a Diana Rossini like psyop to me.
Yeah. But like watching him last year, it feels like Brady at the very end a bit in terms of his willingness to like hang in the pocket and get hit. Like he's throwing ball at running back's feet. He's just like, get this out of my hand. And he's always had the quick release, but now the release is he's deciding to, start the release a little earlier. He doesn't seem, it's like he doesn't have the mobility and he's not looking to get hit. So that leads to a very kind of quick developing type of play.
That was fine for like late stage. Manning was pretty good at that. Like because these guys are so smart and Rodgers is so accurate, you can get by. What I'm concerned with is like that is not Metcalf's game. Like the quick developing stuff is not.
It's not Arthur Smith's game either, though.
Metcalf's a good slant runner.
We're gonna turn DK. I mean, he's gonna have some cool.
That's been one of his 3 routes he runs.
I was gonna say he's definitely gonna have a minimum of one very cool slant. A safety takes the wrong angle, he puts his shoulder in him, he's just gone for 75 yards.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, because
we're gonna get some Steelers victory laps on that. That's happened in week 2. Yeah.
Metcalf's gonna have a couple like 4 for 120 in one games, but I don't know. I think I'm fine with Metcalf's price. I don't love it because it's just the 4th round is like everyone that I like is in the 4th round. Like this is my problem with your guys' Jameson takes. Is like even whenever I'm like maybe Jameson could be a good pick, there's just other guys I like way more.
What do you mean your guys?
I feel about Metcalf too.
I think he's using
general public.
He's using the royal you there.
Okay. I mean, I'm friggin' I got my sword and shield over here. I've been fighting next to you for like 2 months on
That's
this.
True. That's true.
Now I'm you guys. Come on, man. Brother in arms.
Also, Travis Hunter is right by Metcalf.
Yeah, exactly. Travis Hunter. And by the way, with my puppy slows finishing up, we now are at the prophesized 35% because I think I'm about 50% in the old puppy slows. But it's gonna be a no for me on Metcalf at cost. Like I like Pickens straight up more. He'll have a lower target share, but like they're gonna throw 150 more times.
Sutton,
I think that's easy. Yeah, not Sutton. I like Metcalf more than Sutton.
Agreed.
But I like Pickens. Pickens I have ranked the highest of this tier of guys. After Jameson Williams, I have Pickens in my rankings, and I don't even think that's controversial. I think it's very straightforward, actually.
Steelers
like
and
a lot.
Seattle in week 2. The Steeler home opener is Metcalf's former team. After they go to the Jets in week 1, Rodgers and Fields facing each other's former team in the opener. We don't know for sure that Rodgers' arm is still Rodgers' arm also, by the way, just because we've seen it with Peyton Manning. When you get there, it's just done. And I guess you can feel pretty confident that he's still that, but we just any given day that can be different. All right.
Yeah, although Manning had that neck surgery issue, and
he was great post neck surgery. He had the best season ever post neck surgery. But then he had fasciitis, and then he like completely fell off that.
Okay, I don't know. He never had the strongest arms, so
no.
Yeah.
But he did throw 55 touchdowns or whatever it was with Denver post neck surgery.
Right,
that's true.
Speaking of Denver, JK Dobbins. He's not there though, right? That was just a glimpse.
It was a very, very hyped visit, but
he will be signed though.
Yeah.
I don't know that he will.
I'm just not 100% sure it's going to be in Denver.
He's going to sign. He's going to sign with Denver.
When does the tag materialize?
JK Dobbins tag.
The UFA tender?
Because he functionally sort of is signed by the Chargers. Like
this was tag. Right. We had this come up. We mentioned Elijah Moore being this, but the Bills signed him from Cleveland.
Okay, here we go.
It would be next week.
If Dobbins is unsigned by July 22nd, the Chargers would retain exclusive negotiating rights on him, and he would be attached to a $1.1 million tender. So yeah, July 22nd. So he's still got like a month and a half where he can sign with anybody else. So
Dobbins might be like that gives him a little bit of negotiating leverage in terms of what he's asking for with the Broncos. So maybe the Broncos are like, hey, we're gonna, according to the way the market would treat it, we're going to install you as a starter and make RJ Harvey a backup, but we're only going to pay you $1 million. Are you down? And he's like, no, I can get more than that from the Chargers.
Well, it's not enough money to think they wouldn't just do whatever. Like if they wanted him there, that's the beginning of training camp.
Chubb just got $2.5 million guaranteed, right?
If I was a betting man right now, I'd say Broncos like minus 130. To sign him because I think they have like a very obvious need because Jaleel is no good. Estimate it can do like one thing. Dobbins is both. Yeah, he can run in between the tackles. He's fine at that.
Maybe.
And now they can just do exactly what Sean Payton wants to do, which is chop and change Dobbins and Harvey in a non-obvious way that does not forecast to the defense what each guy's going to do.
I think Chargers should still be the favorite because he defaults to the Chargers.
they actually have no use for him. He doesn't.
But why'd they tag him? They tagged him
to get a compensatory pick.
Yeah.
So little money.
Yeah. Either he re-signs for like nothing, I think $1.38 million, or they get a compensatory pick. So they
were just trying to buy
JK Dobbins as like the cheapest third running back you can imagine, right? 1.3 million, like the veteran minimum for JK Dobbins. That's pretty good. Or they get like a 5th round pick.
It'll be like a 7th.
7th, sure, whatever. I mean, a true win-win for them. Like
for sure,
they can't lose on that.
I think he signs somewhere. I have no idea if it's Denver. I mean, Denver would make sense. The thing that I have stressed about this is like RJ Harvey currently goes in the early to mid 5th. And then we draft basically no other Denver running back. Like Audric Estime is a sometimes round 18 pick, sometimes undrafted. And Jaleel never gets drafted, basically. So like we're already admitting Sean Payton backfield, we're drafting one guy in the 5th and no one else. The running backs that go in round 1 and round 2, we draft every single one of their backups. Yep. So everybody's basically admitting we don't expect RJ Harvey to get the entire workload. And all these backups are so crappy that we don't want to draft them anyways. So there's like pretty clearly touches available under that premise for a JK Dobbins that don't even impact RJ Harvey, that you've got to at least like allocate those unknown, undrafted touches to someone else before you start fudding Harvey. But I don't know. The market just,
I think if they were to sign,
do things that way. I'm not saying it doesn't impact Harvey at all, but it's like
it would be small.
We have to at least realize like we are already projecting 35 to 40% of the work on undrafted players. Like that's going to Dobbins first.
Well,
yeah, and I think the Harvey's
Audric Estime not undrafted by me. So,
well, you think they're signing Dobbins? He goes to 0 if they do that.
Correct. I'm not taking him anymore.
Okay, I see.
Yeah. Well, you haven't seen, some people on Twitter think if they sign Dobbins that Dobbins is the lead back, Estime is the number 2, and Harvey is the understudy.
Harvey is Jaleel.
Guys, this game is beatable.
For some people.
I think Harvey right now has this beautiful combination of you can actually expect him to start producing early in the season, and then he's a strong bet to continue producing through the end of the season and maybe even getting better as he gets more comfortable with the offense. Maybe the role expands a little bit on passing downs, whatever it is. Behind a really good offensive line, we're generally excited about the offense. I think Dobbins would impact that early season part of the bet a little bit, but not like maybe a ton. Like it would, I think, probably take a little bit of his ceiling away or something like that. Maybe his floor gets a little lower or whatever, but he's not like, I think, Harvey, if he was at the 5-6 turn instead of the early to mid 5th, then that would be more than enough. And you see him at the 5-6 turn now. So I think he'd probably fall past that to be more like in the late 6th. I would have a big old bag of Harvey if Dobbins signs.
Yeah, I'm rooting for the signing for sure. Because like I'm a little over market Harvey, but I'm not that much because I think there's a lot of good options where he goes. If he could fall behind Henderson, which I think he would, and then because there's a range like once Henderson goes, and I really like Olave. I don't know if other people share that opinion, but once Henderson and Olave go, then it's like that's why I have like way more Jennings than I really want, and I have way more Jaden Reed than I really want because I'm like, ugh. Like if he could be in that range with like DeMont and Caleb Johnson and Judkins, like I'm windmilling Harvey.
Me too, man.
And I think that's probably where he winds up going, like kind of right behind Connor and Kamara.
So we should root for the signing.
Yeah, I'm rooting for it.
All right, sure. I'm going to root for it too.
Since you mentioned Olave, just quickly, I was just checking out my exposures, and does this happen to you where you really just don't expect to see somebody near the top of the list, but there he is and you feel good about it? Like Olave, I saw at 21%. I'm like, oh, good. Didn't even realize I was doing that, but that felt good to me. Dobbins or Chubb right now?
Oh, Dobbins. Chubb is like close to like 0 as a player. Dobbins actually played well last year.
I'll say the guy that's on a team.
I'll say Chubb.
No, You guys are wrong. Chubb was bad last year, and is now, and that was before
an ACL.
That was right. So how did his season end last year? Did he end healthy?
No.
Has Mixon ever been good?
No, Mixon's not any good either. So now you have two terrible early down rushers. No disrespect to Nick Chubb, who used to be great, and then Woody Marks, who's like the worst early down rusher I've ever seen as a prospect. Who just like it's really.
Oh man, where's Brett Jones? I want Brett Jones in the chat right now so I can like. Oh, look at that! Oh my god! Literally, as I said it, he just pops in. The world's #1 Woody Marks fan.
Well, he's touting Chubb right now.
He's touting Chubb now, so he's turned. But the Woody Marks people,
I'm sure
they're getting what they deserve.
I'm sure Chubb is expected to be a big contributor. That's why a team so desperate for good PR, the Browns would do anything for good PR. It was the easiest good PR move of all time to pay Chubb $2.5 million, and they couldn't even do that. Like, I'm sorry, man. The history.
What do you think the source of that report is, and what are the odds that it's Nick Chubb's agent?
Or just Nick Chubb?
The odds are 100% that it is Nick Chubb's agent.
Because the odds are 100%. Nick Chubb's report. Nick Chubb's agent says Nick Chubb to be big contributor for the Texans.
I mean,
that doesn't move the needle.
It would be great. It would be great for Chubb to be like, it'd be a cool story. Nick Chubb seems like a good guy or something, or I mean, he does seem like a good guy, but I mean, this is a man who has now had 3 season-ending injuries as an NFL running back. He's entering into his age 29 season. I don't know. I guess he's stuffed a lot of nerds in the locker before, but last year per rush was his least effective year.
By
he suffered another season-ending injury to his lower body. This is it. I
mean, the odds are overwhelmingly that Nick Chubb is mega washed. But
whereas Dobbins finally got through a year. Dobbins finally got through a year. He played in his team's final game. Is that the first time since JK Dobbins was 19 years old that he played?
He did in the playoffs, but then didn't he miss the end of the regular season? Actually, I don't think he was actually healthy during the best ball playoffs.
No, he was. He missed from weeks 8 to let me look it up so I get the weeks exactly right. He did.
While you're doing that, I don't want to let Jacob's catch of the fan go unmentioned here. I don't use the word heroes lightly. You guys know fans for their takes. That's pretty good. And the guy was in the chat right as you mentioned it. Anyway, Davis, yes.
JK Dobbins missed from weeks 13 to week 16. He came back against New England and had 19 for 76 and 1, 18 for 63, and then was useless in their playoff game because the entire Chargers team was useless. So I think, and Dobbins had no juice either, basically, right? Dobbins, he got caught from behind on those 2 long runs. So I'm not like,
that's one of the worst success rates.
Dobbins was great for the first 2 weeks of the year, and then he was quite bad basically after that, which is, I think why he hasn't been signed. I just think at this point in time, the only reason I'd pick Chubb, I think ultimately they're going to be similar bets.
I have them 5 picks apart in the ranks, by the way. It's not a big gap.
Yeah. The only reason, if Dobbins does sign in Denver, my answer would be Dobbins. It's just, if he's on the Chargers, then he's dead. He's like a distant 3rd running back. He's not even draftable. If he ends up on somewhere like Denver, that's probably one of the better case scenarios for him. It's just people think that Dobbins is I think a much better player than he is because he was very successful last year for fantasy, especially early in the year. And look, I was very in on Dobbins last year. I was way overweight him. So, but he really fell off down the stretch. Another year older, and I think the NFL has spoken. If teams valued him, he would currently have a contract. So I think the odds are he's going to end up in the same position as Chubb, which is probably a pretty clear backup. But at least I know Chubb is a backup. I know what team he's on. I can work him into game stacks. You can do stuff with Chubb, whereas Dobbins is a total unknown.
Mixon is in a boot. They're downplaying it. They also downplayed CJ Stroud's shoulder issue, whatever it is, to the extent that the coach would not answer the question whether or not he had anything done to his shoulder over the offseason.
Didn't Stroud have the same shoulder injury last preseason? Didn't he? Wasn't his reps also monitored in 2024? Or am I making that up?
I don't know.
Seems
like an easy question to answer, doesn't it? Did he have anything done? Yes, no. where are we on him? And D'Amico Ryans didn't want to talk about it, which just is weird.
I don't know. I'm not really a huge Texans enjoyer, but other than Nico,
okay.
I was lower than the market on Stroud last year. It's like one of 3 things I got right about the entire landscape of the NFL. But their offensive line is so poor, and they are going to try and play Christian Kirk over Jalen Noel to begin the year. And then they're going to be handing it off to a combination of Joe Mixon and Nick Chubb. And then they have the world's least dynamic third down back in Woody Marks. And it doesn't, part of it is just a lack of imagination, because we don't know what this new offensive coordinator is going to do and how much better he's going to be than PFF Bobby. And if he's significantly better,
he might be significantly better.
If he's significantly better than PFF Bobby, then we could be cooking, right? Now, one thing I would caution the Slappies against is we love to be like, it's run, pass, punt. And I do wonder if one of the things that PFF Bobby was playing through his mind was, we're doing run, pass, punt because our offensive line is so brutal that I can't have CJ Stroud dropping back 42 times a game. That it would actually be negligent of me to be doing that.
The ball knowers came for PFF Bobby, though, with the blocking schemes and the way
ball
they were designing stuff.
Ball knowers don't know any more than we do, right?
They'll come for PFF anybody, the ball knowers.
True.
And the year before, he was getting head coaching interviews.
The ball knowers know stuff I don't know. Like I don't know how his blocking schemes were working, or if they were up to snuff with the modern era, but they seem to think not. And we can criticize him for different things, like not prioritizing the pass and leaning on Joe Mixon as the engine of the offense. So it does seem like I'm not finding many people that are going to bat for what PFF Bobby was doing. And certainly,
I would not be surprised if PFF Bobby gets another job 3 years from now, absolutely crushes it, and he ends up ultimately being vindicated.
Do you think he'll be the Dallas Cowboys' next head coach?
I mean, I'm expecting Shoddy to be like a 6-7 year reign, honestly.
He brings in PFF Bobby 4 years in. And
that is not the franchise where that comeback story would happen.
Can I do a bit on Jordan Mason?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, so he is a riser here. Easy made this point in the chat earlier that every site is below ADP on him, right? Karina, I assume you've got him 15 spots after whatever ETR does. I actually
I don't think we're that. I think we're rated ADP, but
do you know what the
Jordan? We're ahead. Oh no, sorry.
Okay, there you go.
Different wrong. Hang on.
So the vibe that I'm getting, and Jacob, this is going to be before your time. Karina and Shope will remember.
We are behind.
Let's go.
2012. Michael Shope. Jamal Charles is fresh off of one of his best seasons in 2011. Jamal Charles goes for... Oh, no, Jamal Charles was injured. That is why ADP was so weird. But basically, the Chiefs sign Peyton Hillis to be the complimentary back the same way that Thomas Jones was to Jamal Charles in his true
fresh off the Madden cover.
Yes, there's 1 year after that. 1 year after that, he leaves Cleveland. He gets steamed up to like a 6th round pick. Peyton Hillis, the running back too, on the Chiefs. Everyone's like, dude, this team runs all the time. They're just going to be there's 20 touchdowns there. We saw Thomas Jones and Jamal Charles both finish as top 5 running backs. Like, this is so obvious, so evident. Peyton Hillis plays in 13 games, has 95 touches for 371 yards and 1 touchdowns in a total ancillary role. Not saying it's 1-to-1, obviously, but Mason basically had 2.5 good games before getting injured. Guerrero definitely plays better than him.
One was against Minnesota, which helped him a lot here.
One was against Minnesota. I mean, that is absolutely classic. Now, Aaron Jones, obviously far more fraught, right? Had the quad injury last year. Basically, actually, Aaron Jones just suffers a lower body injury every year of his career. The team has already said we want to use him as a goal line back in between the tackles. But I am just getting a little bit of similar vibes where it's like Jordan Mason is not a pass catching guy, right?
No.
So you're basically saying the Minnesota Vikings are going to produce enough rushing touchdowns for Jordan Mason to be the running back 32 because he's going to get 9 of them, or whatever. So it's very, very fragile.
Yeah, it was a control F fail by me. We're behind ADP on Jordan Mason, but I mean, I think one thing, if you're going to make the case for him, he does have contingent value, and he's in a range where you're starting, and you're starting to see some guys like Charbonnet not far behind. So that's not nothing. And then it's an ambiguous backfield. Like he could be like the lead back from the fantasy goodness perspective, where he has a lock on goal line touches and enough of the rushing workload to be the guy you want there.
And his
at the same
Kevin
time,
O'Connell and not Romeo Cornell.
Yeah, I mean, it's an offense we want to be invested in. It is tough, like when you're, like Zamir White would be another guy from last year. Where you're like, hey, this guy doesn't catch passes at all, and I'm not sure if he's really that good, but he's going to get work. And then like you better be damn sure about the he's going to get work part, because if that dries up, you have nothing.
Good point.
I mean, I think the issue that I have with both of these guys, I do think it's going to be an intentional split. The nice thing is they don't really have anyone that they trust or like behind them. So if one gets hurt,
until Cam Akers shows up again.
Yeah, exactly. Then you do have contingent upside. Just the Vikings, like, despite being a really, really good offense under KOC, they haven't really been that great of a fantasy offense for running backs, because they pass a good amount. They don't throw to the back all that much. They have a high pass rate around the goal line. And I think the bet from the market is that's going to change with JJ McCarthy. Whereas I'm more optimistic on their pass catchers and I'm more optimistic on McCarthy, where I guess I don't totally buy into that. I think to an extent they want to run the ball a little bit more, but I don't know. I think McCarthy's going to be fine. I think if they were willing to have high pass rates with like Nick Mullins, I don't really see why they would turn into the Stone Age with JJ McCarthy, a quarterback that they really like. So maybe it's a little bit more run heavy than with Darnold last year, but I think the larger structure of the offense, and this is of that McVay tree, like, Sean McVay running backs don't really catch passes either. Like, this is kind of it's not a high running back usage offense per play. So I'm a little bit leery of like double top 100 picks on split backfield Vikings running backs.
And why would they, with these weapons, incorporate a lot of running back passes? It doesn't really make, even if you want to do quick stuff, like you can find ways to get quick stuff to the receivers and even Hawkinson. So yeah, it's you wouldn't expect a ton of passing volume to the running backs. I also think like doing from doing the weekly, game by game walkthrough for the last few years, KOC is very consistent in terms of pass rate over expected. You can really it takes a lot for him not to have a lean to the pass. He's rarely like mega tilted to the pass. It's not like the Bengals or the Chiefs when they were fun, where you can expect like a huge pass rate over expected in any given week. But very consistently, they have a positive pass rate over expected. Even going against teams that most teams run on, they'll usually have a lean to the pass. I'm with you that I don't think that they're going to like pivot to a run heavy team. That's just not how. I just don't think that's his philosophy. We have a big enough sample with the way he's run offenses.
They were not run heavy when Jaron Hall started games for them.
Right.
And their defense was suddenly excellent, and they still threw last year.
Yeah.
Correct.
You don't even really need to know what their defense is.
And they should. They have awesome weapons. Like this is correct. Like they're doing it right.
Yeah. I agree. I like Jordan Mason. I have Jordan Mason ranked, I think, a smidgen ahead of ADP. I think he's a good pick. But basically, year over year, you look at some of the worst picks in best ball, not in terms of whether they were philosophically correct at the time, but in the results. It's the highest priced handcuffs. It's the highest priced running back. Blake Corum last year, right? Like, imagine if Tyler Algier was a round 10 pick instead of a round 13 pick, and Bijan just totally stays healthy. These are like, if Aaron Jones, and he is 30 and he does always have these lower body injuries, like if Aaron Jones just plays 17 games, Jordan Mason is not going to get there for you. He just isn't.
Push back on that though. Like, you look at like JJ, I don't have it memorized, but like JJ's done all this awesome work on ambiguous backfields.
Backfields.
And like Aaron Jones, what's his ADP right now? Is it like late 7, early 8?
Yeah,
Yep.
like
7, 8 turn.
82. Yeah.
Yeah. So like the market is pricing this, and I mean the market could be wrong, but the market is pricing this as an ambiguous backfield. Aaron Jones.
Okay.
Is
Well, the market's
7.
wrong. It's not ambiguous.
Okay. I mean, yeah, but I'm saying like so. But from a market perspective, like they're saying Jones is going late 7 and Mason's going early 9. That's fully within the ambiguous backfield range, and so I don't think it's comparable to the Algier Corum example where they're going behind like top 3 round picks. Now it's also very possible, like typically that spawns a league winners at a pretty high rate. Now it's totally possible that league winner's Aaron Jones and Mason is the one who does nothing. And it is just Jones's backfield, but like it's definitely a ambiguous backfield and a good offense that I should probably get more interested in because I've been kind of low on both.
But do you think
when you zoom out from that market trend, I probably should be a little bit more open-minded to it.
So this is the one, like last year with Warren, who I was, all over, and it's like, look at what we're getting for the price with Warren. This guy's a really talented player, and we're getting access to, him where he just has to beat this other player out who's not that good, and it's cheaper than we would normally expect. But every running back was cheaper than we would normally expect. So part of it, like, yeah, Aaron Jones is only 7th round pick, but like you go up a couple rounds and you're getting like clear-cut starters who like are, young.
If I gave you the information that Aaron Jones is playing in weeks 15, 16, and 17, I lock that in for you. You're not taking Jordan Mason at this cost. Jordan Mason is going over legitimate. Jordan Mason goes, now that the quarterback window has kind of shifted back a couple picks, Jordan Mason goes over like the quarterback 10. He goes over like kind of like that last line of wide receivers where you can hope and pray at all, like Pittman, Shaheed. Sometimes he goes over Burden and Igbuka. He goes over Loveland and Warren.
Next to Travis Kelce.
No, that's my issue with Mason. Like I want to be in on. I actually like the bet, and I like the bet more than Jones. But I just, it's a tough range. Like I mean, I know he's like 20 picks behind, but like I would just straight up rather have Bashal Tootin.
Okay. That I was with you. You were selling me, and then you just
just take off your like boring snoring 8.3% hat. Like
Tootin is my most drafted player.
Might be really really good and might just win the job. Like I'm not saying that I take Bashal Tootin at 99 ADP. I don't, but like I would if I had to. And then Scatabo goes right beside Mason.
Okay, Scatabo also like, can't be taking that guy.
No, and why can't I be taking that guy? Like, I don't even really like Scatabo as a prospect. Like, I actually think he's kind of bad. I was lower on him than most, but I think he has a ton of upside where he could be easily.
He could maybe even be Devin Singletary.
I mean, Tracy and Scatabo is actually a really fun pairing because they're both like theoretical 3-down profiles who might be bad, which means that there's upside for either one of them to just be the workhorse and the other one to be completely nothing, which makes it really interesting.
That's how I view it too. Yeah, right, so Scatabo catches passes and he's big and he's good in short yardage. Like the idea that like a runner with size who's a good short yardage runner and who had one of the best yards per hour in the class doesn't have upside is kind of crazy to me. Like that's he has a high value touch profile.
Let me proffer you an aphorism, Jacob, that if you simply faded the most expensive running back 2 every single year in best ball, you would turn a profit. Just like whoever you go down the list from running back 1 to running back 50.
I don't think that's at all true. I mean, like I would say, like the stuff that I'm referencing about, like,
wouldn't that be Chase Brown last year?
Well, that would be David Montgomery the last 2 years.
It actually would have been Zach. So no, we're not counting David. We're not counting David Montgomery.
Why?
Why? That's
because David Montgomery. David Montgomery has
for you.
Yeah, because it totally blows up your point.
Starter adjacent.
Very, very clear defined role. He had a 250 point season.
But the reason that the guys go,
okay, I agree that like if we're this is like in line with JJ's research is like yes, if the most expensive RB2 behind an early round pick is usually a bad pick. So like yes, like I'm trying to think of the example this year because Algier is not actually that expensive. But like the year that we drafted like Alexander Madison, Charbonnet.
Corum was running back 35 last year.
Corum last year for sure.
Montgomery's still the highest. He's still the most expensive RB2, right?
Stevenson.
Right, I guess. I mean, whatever. I'm willing to like I'm willing to say that Montgomery is a slightly different case because they have like 30 expected fantasy points per game in their backfield. But like, yeah, it's who did we just talk about? Yeah, Charbonnet. Like that's a pick where it's like, yeah, Charbonnet is, and I guess you could kind of potentially say it's ambiguous. It's a new play caller, but like, yeah, Walker, the market is treating like an entrenched starter, and Charbonnet is the RB2, and so that's probably not a very good pick. But yeah, I think that the other guys, like the two guys, are going in the same range bets. The second of those or the first of those are both generally pretty good picks because there's a high degree chance that one just takes the job. I mean, that's some of the best picks last year. Like Chase Brown was a really expensive RB2, and he was a fantastic pick.
Jaylen Warren has kind of been this.
Right.
That's another guy in this range that I like more than Mason.
Let's finish this list if we can. Rashee Rice is on it. We talked about Daniel Jones, Malik Neighbors up a smidge. So too Christian McCaffrey and Stephon Diggs back from last week's Bolt episode.
Rubber banding the cocaine rumors. It's just he's just back to where he was.
Yeah. McCaffrey's going to move up more.
He's
right?
feeling euphoric out there. Had a lot of energy.
I feel like as you sort of. I mean, I know it was predicted McCaffrey moving up a little bit.
McCaffrey's going to end up at 7. It's a matter of how long it takes him to get there.
Okay,
that's probably right.
Yeah, and I'll be low. I mean, I'm not taking him over Puka.
Yeah, I am not.
Famously in a contest where all the money is in first place, you got to fade the greatest fantasy running back of our time because he had a wee little tinge in his Achilles.
Wee little is a year
for you. Got to survive.
Wee little is 1 year. What's a long time? What's a major twinge?
Just a little twinge.
What's Jacob dealing with today? A wee little twinge.
Yeah, it's just a flesh wound.
If San Francisco wasn't out of it, he plays down the stretch. Maybe
that's what they said.
But they were.
Yeah.
So
Kyle Shanahan, noted liar. Definitely.
That's the thing. Kyle Shanahan's a literal liar. So the only thing I'm gonna do with CMC is that as long as he is practicing and there for mandatory, like
8.6%.
No, I actually do have a legitimate stance on an expensive.
So you
player.
hit 9.
No, I have 15.5% of McCaffrey.
Wow.
That's
like a legit stand, like in the first round for real.
Well, it's just like you are going to feel so dumb if in week 5 McCaffrey is lapping everyone in the field because he's Christian McCaffrey. I mean,
I'll feel dumb in week 15 through 17 if he's doing that. If he does,
easiest schedule in the league.
It's pretty firmly in play that he does that in week 5, and then it's like in week 9, it's like, oh no, my calf, and then
didn't you learn last year the old guys don't get hurt?
Davis,
some don't. But Christian McCaffrey sure did.
I want you to open your third eye here, okay? It's week 15.
It's week 15.
You're headed in. You've advanced your McCaffrey teams. You're feeling great about your 12%. You got it down. You felt uncomfortable with the 15. You got it down to 12 by the end of the summer. And you look up to the injury report and you see McCaffrey questionable, wee little twinge. How you feeling?
I got what I wanted out of him.
Okay.
Tennessee, Indianapolis, Chicago, the Niners playoff teams, easiest schedule overall in the NFL. Fallers, anybody?
Isaac Garendo.
Maybe. Jordan James. Headlining our Fallers list, not surprising, Anthony Richardson. That was going to happen. Joe Burrow, slightly down. He's been interesting to talk about this offseason. The rest, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Ashton Genty, just again by a small amount. Terry McLaurin holding out. Luther Burden, Kyle Pitts, Patrick Mahomes, and Sam Laporta.
These all make sense, I think.
Injury stuff.
I think they're all.
Burden is becoming an absolute smash right now. He goes so late on DraftKings. You can get him in like the 120s, 130s. It's wild. He's now.
Wow.
Yeah. Him getting flipped by like Harrison Higgins, I think. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like
I'll take Higgins ahead of him.
Really? I think the prospect quality
that feels crazy because Burden can lead his team in fantasy points. Higgins cannot.
Yeah,
okay. So I think it's fine to take Higgins ahead of him. I think partially it's because the market's doing that anyway. So you have to accept no Higgins. He was drafted ahead of him in the NFL draft. He has a realistic opportunity to play.
Just barely though.
Okay, but he was. He has a realistic chance to play like 90% of the routes from week 1 because he'll be in 2 wide receiver sets, I think. Burden probably not. And they might be a team that runs a lot of 2 wide receiver sets. So he's got route problems. He's not currently unhealthy. So he's in a totally fine offense. So I don't know. I think that it's
a totally fine offense that we all just shit on 7 minutes ago.
I'm more into the Texans passing game than you guys are, I think. But
I like the Texans. It's not, to me, Higgins he has some scary downsides for me as like an immediate contributor. And I could see Nico just being like a Puka type, just absolute dominating. I mean, he already kind of has been that. I think like it's very plausible to me that Noel ends up being better than Higgins. They play very different types of football, but still. And so I worry about the talent level on Jaden Higgins a little bit. We have him like a little bit ahead of ADP. I'm not out, but it's more about like Burden going behind him and on DraftKings significantly behind him now. It's just seems kind of crazy to me in terms of the upside that Burden provides. And this is not a player that I've been like particularly bullish on because I've seen him as very boom bust. But at a certain point, the upside on this profile really should cost more than this. This is almost like 3-4 years ago, the way we treated rookies. Like he's in a really good situation if he's good. If Burden is good, like he can be dominant down the end of the season. He could be a true, not league winner, tournament winner, a playoff week winner. What you actually want. So I don't know. Burden, like I know he had the vague soft tissue thing in May. Like you're gonna give me like a 12 pick discount on that on Underdog and even more on DraftKings. Like I'm in. I'm all the way in.
Love it.
I can't see any reason to think that Higgins is a better bet than him in the playoff weeks. I think he's a better, more explosive player. I think he's going to be in a better, more explosive offense that throws more often. We have a higher degree of certainty in his play caller. Like and it is totally within the realm of possibility that he's just a better NFL player than Rome and a better NFL player than DJ Moore. I put the chances of Jaden Higgins being better than Nico Collins at like
0.
Yeah.
0.
So
I think it's if Burden was going ahead of Higgins still, like when Burden was going ahead of Higgins, I was definitely taking Burden more. It's not like I have conviction that Higgins is the better click. It's just that the drafts are currently giving me Burden after Higgins, and I don't have so much conviction in it to have like 30% Burden and 0% Higgins. Like to me, this entire range of rookie receivers are targets. I'd like to be overweight on all three of Burden, Ibuka, and Higgins.
Ibuka, yeah.
So like I don't feel a reason to like. I still have 18% Luther Burden. I'm very comfortably over market on him.
Yeah, that pocket, Trey Harris, Jaden Higgins, Luther Burden, Emeka Ibuka. It's just like I don't know.
Harris going ahead of Burden, I think, is like actually silly because he is. I mean, the rumors are he's behind currently, and I mean, of course he is because it's June 10th. So I'm not putting that much stock in it, but like. I actually do expect that he's probably not playing in 2 wide receiver sets to open the season. I think that they will let QJ have that role very early. I expect that if Trey Harris is any good at all, he will displace him. But like the idea of, I think the major appeal of Higgins relative to any of the other 3 rookies is like, I don't think he's as good as especially Ibuka and Burden, but he has the opportunity to get off to the fastest start because he has the easiest path to routes. Harris, I don't think it's actually quite as clear. I think it's a little bit more similar to Burden, and Burden's just a much better talent. So I think I would just clearly take Luther Burden.
Yeah, and I think so. There's a bunch of comments about target competition. 2nd round rookie with no path to a large target share should be taken before pick 100 every time. Got it. Like the no path to a large target share is wrong. It's like really, really wrong.
Yeah.
Like, and that's where the talent thing comes in, and like. It's also where there is still a huge edge in this game of people thinking they have week 1 brain. You know, like I don't give a shit what his week 1 target share is at all. Like I truly don't care. When he's going around this price, then I get to just think about the end of the season. If he was a 6th round pick, if he was a 5th round pick, if he's where Rome Odunze is, I have to think about the beginning of the season a lot more. But here I really don't. I can think about who comes on, like if he hits mid-season and then produces down the stretch, it's an ultra smash. That's kind of where Garrett Wilson was, you know, at this range. If he really doesn't come on till later in the season and then is drawing targets at a really high rate, he's still a smash. That's what Rashee Rice did in his rookie season. And at this point, their prices are getting close. He's going pretty close to Rashee Rice, who, you know, Rashee Rice didn't do anything for a lot of the season and was still an incredible pick. Ricky Pearsall was a guy you wanted last year because he produced in week 17 alone. And at this point, their prices are getting close. So the idea that he doesn't have a path to a big target share as the number 1 receiver that this, you know, new coach has taken, and talking to the guy we think the number 1 receiver is about how he's sulking on the bench and he's not going to put up with that shit. And then they've got Rome Odunze, who really had a pretty concerning rookie season. Like by the end of the season, Burden can't have a big target share. Yeah, he can. He just has to be really good. But that's the bet. The bet is he's really good. Right. And there's a lot of reasons to think he might be, given what he did a couple years ago at Missouri.
It's a very, very fun setup. And I think this applies to Loveland too, in addition to Burden, where you get all of these bodies in front of him that are plausible threats that make people very scared. But all of them are very, very surmountable hurdles if the player is worth it. Like Rome Odunze is
exactly.
I mean, he's like certainly an NFL player, but like he was like a 1.2 yards per route run rookie. Like he could be kind of okay. He could be maybe very good. He could be nothing at all.
Hopkins did that. Bateman did that. JSN did that. It's kind of in that range where you're like, could be good still. Could go. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Moore, like, it's coming off a season where he didn't even have 10 yards per reception. And if you exclude screens from the sample, had 1.3 yards per route run. So, like, to me, that's a pretty clear season of decline, like where he was just force fed a lot of screens. And, you know, maybe that's fine. But I think that there's enough warning signs with DJ Moore that this is not a complete receiver either anymore. And I don't think Burden is, but you have the benefit of the great unknown. And yeah, if him or Loveland are just like a star, then I just don't think that any of these guys are like complete roadblocks to, you know, if Burden shows up and he's the best player on the Bears, then somebody else is going to lose routes. They're going to figure it out. So I'm very, very with you that he's a clear target on DraftKings, especially. That sounds like it's like a, dare I say, generational wealth opportunity.
It's wild. Dude, I took in the draft last week, I took Bashal Tootin, and then I took Burden with my next pick.
Oh man.
Did that team already have Travis Hunter? Did you get to plant the flag? Did you slap your chest?
I was excited for what your reaction would be, but you topped my expectations.
Where does Travis Hunter go in DraftKings? It's got to be lower, right?
Let me pull it up.
50.
I tend to do like all my DraftKings drafts in like August after I'm done underdog.
Yeah.
Travis Hunter. So much. His ADP is 47.2.
I could George in the jungle that for sure.
Not too different.
Luther Burden is 132.9.
That's like actually absurd. That's just
isn't it?
12th round Luther Burden. That's like where like Ramondre Stevenson goes on underdog.
We have him at 119 in the DraftKings ranks. That's 20 picks ahead of ADP. Like that's way lower than I would want to, but you don't need to be much higher than that to just have a big old bag.
That is absolutely wild.
Where you guys at on McLaurin? Holding out, does it matter? I mean, it was a big touchdown spike for him, of course. Last year.
I've never seen his name in my app.
Okay.
He is like a laughably bad pick, but he could score 2 touchdowns in the right week.
Pete and I drafted him yesterday, but we had CeeDee Lamb, and then we got Jaden Daniels. We also got Dak Prescott. It's if you get Jaden Daniels, it's fun. I will say that.
Sure. But like he like there's not a projection system on earth that says he's a good pick there. But sometimes you just have to take guys where they go.
I don't.
Yeah.
The third round is definitely the spot where there's the most picks that I just vehemently disagree with. Like I think that the McLaurin and Moore prices are utter woke nonsense. And then the Hill price I understand, but I'm taking the opposite side of it. And then the Kyron price I also don't really understand. I think he's more similar to some of the round 5 picks. So those are just like 4 players that I have never clicked and will never click. So it allows me to just take pretty massive stands on everybody else, mostly Breece Hall.
Right. Chase Brown, what's earlier? T. Higgins.
Yeah, like I take I think I'm like 20% Garrett. I'm like 25% Rice. I'm like 40% Hall and 35% Hunter because there's just so many guys that I just don't even consider in that range.
Makes sense to me.
Miles is telling me that Moore is a 4th, and yeah, I mean that could be true. I wouldn't know. I have him ranked in 6th.
Where are you at on Marvin Harrison?
Yes.
I've clicked him a couple of times. But he's not. I wouldn't consider him a target.
Oh, see, I'm like a big Marvin Harrison bull.
I'm still in.
What's like? So I mean, I guess like the case is just the prospect profile.
I mean, the case is he really wasn't that bad. He showed the elite ceiling, and it's just like CeeDee Lamb kind of had a middling rookie year with some really bad down slots. DeAndre Hopkins, like if you run a stat head filter for 800 yards, 4 touchdowns, first round pick, you're just getting like a bunch of guys who then like immediately became the best wide receivers in fantasy, like year 2.
Yeah, and I listened to the Athletic Football show. They were breaking down the Marvin Harrison stuff, and it was sort of negative in the way last season went on a couple different fronts. Like basically kind of the things they think Harrison does well maybe aren't the things Kyler does well, which is not great. There was also negativity around his deployment. In some ways, though, I think those are like, we all know last year was disappointing. And so like, why was it disappointing? And he actually did do some things pretty well, but wasn't meshing as well with his quarterback as you'd like to see. And then had really static and uncreative usage. As far as like reasons for a disappointing season go, those aren't like devastating to me. I mean,
they're not unfixable, right?
They're not unfixed. Those are fixable things. And
but what's different?
I'm
something to be
open-minded
different.
to the idea that Marvin is good. Yeah, that's what Shope's saying. Like, if he had a different anything, it'd be easier for me to sell myself on it. Like if it was, he has uncreative and boring usage last year, so they got a new play caller.
No,
or
it didn't.
He doesn't mash well with the quarterback, so he has a new quarterback. But it's like, all I've heard is like, well, the thing that's on him is that he can't really break tackles, so they don't give him any easy button looks, and they probably shouldn't because it's not what he's good at. But he is good in the intermediate and down the field, and especially on the outside. But they don't give him a chance to use him on the inside. So it's like the way that he was schemed up is a bad mix for his quarterback. And it's the same guy calling the plays, and it's the same quarterback. And then he's not good at the easy button stuff. So I have to bet on that. I don't think Kyler's going to change. I think he is what he is at this point.
Sure.
I have to bet that the same play caller that used him poorly last year will use him well this year, which is possible. But I just think it's really priced in. So I'm open to it. I don't think he's like a terrible click. Like I wouldn't rank him with those other guys that I was saying I never see. But I do think it's a little difficult for me. Like I would never take him over Rice or Garrett. Luckily, Rice is rising a lot, so he's more
Rice. I agree with you. Garrett, I think. I mean, you have some warts on the Garrett prospects this year. With like I like Garrett Wilson, but I mean it's pass volume is an issue. Kind of consistency at quarterback's an issue.
Here's your comp.
On the bright side, he's going to have 38% targets per route run. Will they only throw 400 passes? Yes.
Right.
But 200 targets to Garrett Wilson of those 400 passes.
All right, Calvin Ridley, year 1, awful. Year 2, actually pretty bad. Year 3 was awesome. Justin Blackman, who was awful. Devonta Smith, 7.1 points per game. Year 1, got much better. Amari Cooper, 8.7 points per game. Year 1, got much better. I actually can't remember Watkins got better. Year 2, much more efficient. Like, these guys just it basically, like, I think you're too in the weeds if you're like, well, how does he win? He can't do. It's just like these guys are just like pretty likely to get better.
That's where I'm at on it, because like what the Cardinals did is they kind of threw him in the deep end. They're like, you're our number 1 outside receiver. We're not going to give you any easy stuff. We're not going to make life easy for you at all. Go beat your man. Like, they threw him in the deep end, and he didn't. He did better than tread water. He didn't swim that fast, but he made movement, in a positive direction. It was disappointing because we were like, this dude's going to be what Malik Neighbors was, and he wasn't. But in year 2, you would really hope that they would at least do some more stuff. Like, there's actually like a lot of room for improvement from a coaching perspective, even if it's the same coaches, to just like incorporate more creative usage with him. And we have seen, like with CeeDee Lamb got moved, his role got progressively a little bit more creative, even though he's never really had good coaching in his life.
So I'm just looking through this list of guys who like first round wide receivers who didn't like super smash their rookie year, and like literally every single one of them got better year 2. I'm just clicking on names and looking at.
But by how much? Like, if he was going, so like JSN last year, for instance. Now Marvin's rookie year was better than JSN's, but like
significantly better. I think that's important. Like, significantly better.
Yeah, it was better. Yeah, but we got like a massive discount with that. Like, JSN was going round 6-7 turn last year, and I was very into that.
Yeah.
If Harrison was going at the 3-4, I mean, yeah, if he was going just a little later, like even Lamb coming off, and he was in a way better situation than Harrison is because he was with Dak in a pass first offense, and he was going early 4th going into his second year, and he actually was like a fine pick that year, but really took off more in his 3rd and 4th years than in the second. My feeling with Harrison, I think he's going to be fine this year. I think my like hope is that he has kind of a middling year 2 in the same situation, and that he's going the same spot or later next year. They changed play callers, and I get to be really, really in year 3.
So I had to bet,
I think that's how it goes.
You're delaying gratification. So you're saying
if I had to bet, I think he's going to have a slightly better year than last year this year, and he's going to have a blow up year in year 3.
Harrison, I
like it. It's fun.
Now, the prop lines are 925.5 yardage, 7.5 touchdowns, by the way.
Seems fine. I don't think I would bet on either side of that.
I think
925 would have been 31st in the league last year in yards.
If he plays
17 games, I'd bet the over on yards, but that affects pretty much every player.
Crack rock
season. Your next assignment is to find out if Harrison is playing Warzone with Kyler.
I mean, the projection stuff I use projects him for 1,100 yards.
But that's with 17 games, right?
That's with 17 games. Yeah.
Like you every over under
right
should be set a good bit below what you would project them on 17 games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anybody else here you want to talk about? Mahomes? What is that? Why is Mahomes down?
The market is gaining some rationality.
I think Mahomes is a pretty good pick, man.
Into 7.
Yeah. I'm kind of starting to default to a large part of the reason Mahomes was good for fantasy was he had like probably the best speed wide receiver in the NFL and then a Hall of Fame tight end. And now he doesn't have those players anymore. And he's more comfortable playing like, you know what he's like? He's kind of like mid-career Brady, where it's just like, let's just win these games. It's chop and I don't care if I have 220 passing yards and 2 picks. Like, let's just get in, get out.
their running backs are not going to be very good. Maybe they end up being some winners here from a best ball price perspective, but this team is very unlikely to kind of run through the running back. He has Rashee Rice, coming back looking healthy, kind of providing some of that Travis Kelce,
Rashee Rice
safety blanket type of stuff.
Not really good for improving his quarterback in fantasy. Rashee Rice is Welkery, right? He's helping you sustain drives, but he's not just like creating explosive plays.
That's true, but I think
it's kind of like the inside Mahomes. There's two wolves, and like Rashee Rice is like, be Jared Goff. You're Jared Goff. I'm your Amon-Ra. And then Worthy is like, be Patrick Mahomes. I'm your new Tyreek Hill.
But he has both.
And it's like,
but Davis, just laid out he's got his Travis Kelce, who's short targets, yak. Well, he has that in Rice now. And then if Worthy, and I'm kind of lukewarm on Worthy, to be honest, because I think he's probably not Tyreek Hill, but there's at least the upside that he provides enough of that. And Hollywood's a pretty solid number 3. And then honestly, Kelce's still like better than most tight ends because most tight ends suck. So
right. Yeah, fair.
It's like the weaponry is pretty good. And we've now had two bad Mahomes years, but in 2022, he was a smash.
MVP.
The difference in the NFL between pretty good to greatest at your position at the time, maybe greatest at your position ever. Like Mahomes is one of Kelce is one of the 5 greatest tight ends ever at his peak, right?
Yes,
and he's not that guy anymore. And look, I like Xavier Worthy, but he's like he's the Charmeleon of Tyreek's, right? It's not even close on the evolutionary chain. Hollywood is like basically Demarcus Robinson here. And if your running backs don't ever generate explosive plays, which I don't really expect any of them other than Brashard Smith to do, then you're just like, all right, man, we're doing a bunch of 12-play drives. We're doing a bunch of and the thing that is brutal for Mahomes is if they do what they did last year at the goal line, where instead of the Andy Reid offense is a hallmark of them for a long time was really high pass rates in the end zone. Right, he does those stupid the ring around the rosy, and you know what they did last year? They lined it up and they scored. They said, "All right, Kareem, we're giving you 3 cracks," and he got it. He had a good success rate at the goal line, and because Mahomes doesn't run, you take 8 of his passing touchdowns away and you give them to whatever 237-pound guys in that backfield. That basically takes him from the quarterback 9 to the quarterback 15. You know what he's actually very similar to? It's like Kirk Cousins. His fantasy value is very similar to Kirk Cousins, where it's almost totally reliant on what his offensive coordinator decides to do.
I like to think that this year Kansas City gets pushed harder. The division is better. The schedule is brutal. Last year, every Kansas City game until the AFC Championship was 21-18 on a blocked field goal against Carolina or the Raiders or Denver. Like maybe they get pushed a little bit. Not to say that has to mean bigger pass production, but it could.
If they get pushed, they're going to grind even harder. If they get, they were 7th. They were 7th in the NFL. They were 7th in the NFL in plays run last year. They could run more plays than they did, and it could be even more painful to watch. It could be, oh, you scored on us first, Chargers. We just ran a 14-play drive that took 11 minutes. We went for it on 4th down 3 times. Like however bad it was to watch last year, it could actually literally get worse if the defense is worse, because some games they'll just give up. Some games they'll just be like, we're down 2 scores in the 4th quarter. Whatever. We pass, punt. It's over.
A worse to watch Chiefs team in primetime 11 times. That ought to be great.
Yeah, the Chiefs are way, way more boring than they used to be. And last year was a bummer. But they're still one of the better bets to actually have a lean to the pass in the league. They're not what they used to be that way. But
even last year, they were number 1 in PROE. No one, even the Bengals.
I think the Bengals were number 1.
Let me look it up because I need to fact check.
Pretty sure they were because they yeah.
Still,
the Chiefs were like one of the other teams that you could kind of count on to pass last year. And
go ahead.
Okay. The the thing for me, you compare him to Kirk Cousins and stuff like that's like the downside. But we normally talk about with quarterbacks, we're talking about kind of the weapons, the situation, the coaching, because these guys aren't really that different in a lot of cases. But isn't Mahomes different? Isn't Mahomes in the conversation for the GOAT? Like this
different.
Dude,
he's different in the sense that there's no quarterback other than Tom Brady that you'd rather have down a score in the fourth quarter. I don't know if he's different in the sense of he can take any group of guys and turn them into 4,500 yards and 40 touchdowns. I think those are two different things. And I think his greatness at winning games has translated to people like me being like, well, surely he's going to be awesome in fantasy. And they're just different things.
The price is significantly down from last year. And, we've seen him pay the last time we were, kind of out was 2022. We kept the faith a little bit more last year, I think.
I mean, he was 30 picks more expensive in 2022 than he is right now.
Sure. And he was an absolute smash at that price.
This is the lowest he's ever gone since he was
lowest he's ever gone. And this isn't just any group of guys. Rice is going to end up being a mid-second round pick probably by the time the season starts. Worthy's going in the 4th round, right? So like,
I mean, a lot of it is Worthy a gadget player? Does Worthy build on what he? If Worthy ends up being like a super valuable on-field contributor, then Mahomes' upside is a lot higher. If Worthy is Sammy Watkins, Hardman, then
I'm with you.
They basically can't, because what you have to have with great quarterback seasons is the wide receivers have to be additive, right? You can't be all the quarterback doing it, right? You need Jamar Chase doing these crazy 70-yard touchdowns. You need T. Higgins with these athletic, you need Randy Moss, you need Gronk. Like if it's Mahomes being like, I'm creating all the value myself with my throws, it just can't be done.
Or you need 12 rushing touchdowns like Allen delivers.
Yes, or you need rushing touchdowns, which famously, they just will not do with Mahomes ever since he injured his knee against Denver.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's not like it's a lock, but there's, it's June, so it's nice to kind of zoom out a little. And it's like, what could this season be known for in retrospect? And the season where Mahomes was the cheapest he ever went seems like a reasonable guess. It's like, oh yeah, that was the season Mahomes was an 8th round pick. That was dumb.
I think also, not that this really has to apply, but if you think about MVP stuff, he's kind of due. I think, for as good as Allen is, Jackson didn't win last year because it would have been 3, and they weren't ready to give him 3. And Mahomes is at 2, Jackson's at 2, Allen's on the board. Mahomes would be the one if the great guys are great, where I think, unless it's Burrow.
I only have 30 minutes left, so we can be done at this point. I just want to do I want to make one other point, and we don't know, it doesn't always have to be Chiefs talk, but this idea that the Chiefs were coasting last year, I actually disagree with. I think they just were not very good. Yeah, I think they were really trying in a lot of those games, and they were just not good. They had no left side of the line. They were so desperate they moved their center to left tackle. They had no running back. Kelsey, who I think they and I mean, you guys disagree with me on this, but my interpretation of the situation was that they planned on Hollywood being a big part of the offense, and then chopping and changing that with 6 weeks left to start the season was a big deal for them. And then they planned on getting him back, and they didn't get him back because he had a complication with his surgery.
I think it's clear that their receivers were not what they planned them to be. Like they planned we saw them in week 1. They planned Rashee Rice to be clearly their dominant number 1. And he gets injured in week 4. I think that they then probably planned on, okay, we're going to have to lean on Kelsey more than we intended to. And Kelsey wasn't really good enough to be that consistently. They probably planned on Hollywood to be their number 2 receiver, at least for the first half of the year. And he gets injured. And then it was like, we have rapidly declining Kelsey. We have Worthy, who's not quite ready yet. And he got a lot better towards the end of the season, but he was like pretty bad for the first half of the year. And then we just got like random fucking guys. So like, yeah, it's tough. It's tough if you're like, if your planned skill players are Rice, Hollywood, Kelsey, Pacheco, and
Kelsey not falling off
slowly.
Kelsey not falling off.
And then your actual skill players are not Rice, not Hollywood, not Pacheco, shell of Kelsey, and Worthy playing
shell of Kareem
way
Hunt.
more important role than we thought he would. That
starting running back. Now again, one other point to people who are not getting it. The reason why the Chiefs made the Super Bowl in a year where they were not at their best is Mahomes is clearly that good. Like I will like
also
Mahomes
Steve Spagnuolo in the defense is like a thing.
A huge part of it. Yeah. But if your defense, if you can be the 5th best defense, I mean, Mahomes, in my belief, would have figured it out if the defense was bad. I still think they would have figured it out and still would have beaten the teams the way that they beat them, because I think Mahomes is that good and he can adjust. Mahomes is like obviously very, like, I think he's just a very intelligent player, but none of that means that he is going to throw for. Now, is anyone going to be shocked if Mahomes has 4,800 yards and 42 touchdowns? Of course not. Like, you're just not. It's because he's that good. But I'm not saying it. I don't think it's the most likely thing.
The Bills losing 4 playoff games to Kansas City in these 5 years, to look at last year's and think that Kareem Hunt was the leading rusher and that Juju was their second leading receiver in yards. It's kind of a, it just messes with your mind that happened. May we move forward to wanted, dead, or alive? I mean, this either can be, well, it's not going to be, we're not going to go long on this with the time we have left, but just thinking about players that last year we were maybe a little bit hot for, that now still at the time of year where we don't know if there's any juice, just kind of guessing off the situation and reading through coaching comments. Marshawn Lloyd in this graphic, Blake Corum, Audric Estime, who came up earlier, Kendre Miller. Lloyd and Miller are a lot alike for me, just sort of wanting to think that there's daylight, but maybe not.
Yeah, I draft none of these guys.
I draft
Kendre, though, is the one that I'm kind of intrigued by. I just want to hear, like, I haven't drafted him yet, but I've hovered over the button a couple times. I just want to hear one good report, because I think he's an intriguing click in that Kamara, this team I expect to suck, and Kamara's not part of the future. So I think it's like very easy to envision a scenario where Kamara's role is either de-emphasized or he's on IR in the playoff weeks. And I think that there's potential value in picking the right one of Miller and Neal. And Neal's drafted a lot, and Miller's drafted pretty much never. And I think Miller's like, I didn't like Neal very much as a prospect. I thought he was kind of bland. I think he's like a jack of all trades type who, to me, strikes me as like a good backup, but unspecial. And Miller's a little bit more high variance. I think he's got a lot of juice, or at least did, prior to the 17 different injuries, 13 of which were real and 4 of which were made up as a conspiracy by Dennis Allen. And, he has some deficiencies in this game, but I think he's a very fun player. I just have no idea what the reporting is. So, like, I would like to hear something that says one of these guys looks really great in camp, or one of these guys is the inside track to be the RB2, and then hammer them. I've just been avoiding the Saints for now, and I'm waiting on reporting. And then once I get some, I'll go pretty heavy on one of them in August. That's how I've been dealing with it. Corum, I just think I would rather take Hunter, and he's not that expensive.
No,
either.
See, that is falling for. That is falling. I think of the 4 of these guys, Corum is clearly the best, because McVay just takes running backs. I believe every year the Rams, he's been the head coach, they've taken a running back. So I am not making mountains out of molehills on Corum. I think Corum, the season starts today. If Kyron turned his ankle tomorrow, Corum would get the first chance to be the running back. And I don't think he's any good.
I agree with that specific thing. But, like, I think Hunter, I like Hunter a ton as a prospect, first off. So I just think he's really good. Now, I like Corum too, but I liked him for different reasons. I don't know, man. I think Corum was a 3rd round pick last year that they drafted. They started him behind Ronnie Rivers, and then they never really gave him a chance to play. Maybe if Kyron got hurt and Corum succeeded, things would be different. But, like, then they go out and they get Hunter this year. I just don't, like, I'm sure they'll never say it, but I just struggle to buy that they're that high on Corum when they gave him no opportunities last year, and then they go and they draft Jarquez Hunter with a pretty significant capital this year. And so the way I view it, I think the most favorable view for Corum is, okay, he's still the Kyren handcuff.
And that's how I view it.
Different.
Yeah.
Which is very possible. But like, I think that's speculative. Like, I think if one of them is going to be mixing in for a legitimate role standalone, I think it's Hunter, because he's the one who brings something different to the table, who brings that explosive element that Kyren really doesn't. And then if Kyren did get hurt, both probably play. I don't think it's going to be like one, plays all the snaps immediately and they figure out which one's better. And if it just comes down to which one's better, I'm betting on Hunter to be better.
I mean, Kyren was getting. It's just like you could do this with every Rams running back the entirety of McVay's time. You could be like, oh well, Kyren was losing work to, or he was behind Malcolm Brown. So how much could they even really like Kyren? I believe pretty strongly. I think you're right, Jacob, that Hunter has a chance to have like some usage while Kyren is healthy. I don't think there's a ton of meat on that bone to be that interested in it. And Corum is just like really likely to be the running back 2 in their hierarchy.
Yeah, and I don't see why we can't take both of these guys. They're both really cheap. Yeah, I take Hunter. This isn't a Corum over Hunter take. I have Hunter ahead of Corum in the rankings. But when you get to the end of the drafts right now, and if you're looking at running backs, it's like, does this guy have any kind of role at all? Like, what are the chances that there's really no path to him having value? I mean, I'm drafting some Miles Sanders right now. That's disgusting. But it's because it's like, that's a 3-man backfield. Like, what backfields are true 3-man backfields? This is one of them.
It's a 3-man backfield that Miles Sanders could lead that backfield without an injury.
Yeah.
Sure.
He's a good.
I'm not like, so I have 30% Miles Sanders, which is probably too much.
That is too much. He could get cut.
And in last call, don't
maybe I mix in Blake Corum and I start mixing some Blake Corum.
Yeah, I agree.
I saw that Brian Schottenheimer quote where he was talking about like, why wouldn't Miles Sanders look good? We remember him when he was in Philly, and boy, was he ever great. And I was just like, that was like the best thing I've read in years. Yeah. I'm so jacked up.
No, I mean, Sanders, it's crazy and it's sad, but Sanders has more upside for sure because he only has to beat out Javonte.
My underdog handle was Sander 26, so.
Are you named after Miles Sanders?
Miles Sanders wore 26 at Philly. I don't know if he's 26 now, but, name the Sander 26, taking Miles Sanders. I'll end up with 26% Miles Sanders for
something to shoot for.
Good.
How about
this is one I don't think Corum is. We're not learning names. Like if Kyren goes down, it's Corum and it's Hunter, and Hunter is. I think your take on Hunter is exactly right. Like he has a chance to mix in, have some standalone value. He's kind of more of like the explosion, lightning type of guy, like really good on a per touch basis, but not really a workhorse type. Corum's very much a thunder in that type of setup. So. It's not like Corum is an incredible pick or anything. I would like to not have to think about Corum.
4 pounds of thunder, right?
Yeah, he's these days, Jacob, that's a big back. We're looking at Bucky Irving starting running back. We're looking at Devon Achane starting running back. He's big now.
Like, isn't he like the exact same size as Jarquez Hunter, and we're just saying that he's thunder because he's slower than him?
Because he was a college workhorse is why I'm saying it.
Okay, fair enough.
I want to make a point that I don't really believe in, but I think someone should make it, which is Corum was the highest drafted, call back to the beginning of the show, Corum was the highest drafted running back 2, standalone or contingent value last year. The only thing that happened was that Kyren just didn't get hurt. So then, we viewed Corum as a bad pick. And we're letting a 4th round running back, and you guys, are not putting any respect on Jaden Blue's name, another 4th round picks. So we're putting respect on Jarquez Hunter's name, but not Jaden Blue's name. Because
how did Jaden Blue come into this? What if anything been said?
Jacob,
about
sorry, Davis. If Jarquez Hunter was going in like the 11th round, I wouldn't be putting respect on his name.
Well,
also, if Jarquez Hunter was being drafted, if Jarquez Hunter was drafted by the Dallas Cowboys, it would take everything in my power not to have like 73% of him in round 9.
If they have DJ Giddens, I would. Like I wouldn't even have to draft.
I think that's being
I fucking
overconfident
love
in our
Jarquez
evaluations.
Hunter, and he, but like So it's one thing to be overconfident in our evaluations in the sense of like, is this guy?
By the way, Jaden Blue was a 5th-round pick. Robin points out.
Like, okay, so like, let's say that the Cowboys took.
Difference.
Let's say that the Cowboys took Devin Neal, or I'll even go worse. Let's say that the Cowboys took
Woody Marks,
Taj Brooks. Yeah, I won't use Woody Marks. I think he's more in the blue category. But like, if they took like Taj Brooks, I would be like, well, that's kind of a bummer. I wish that they took someone that I like a lot more, like a Hunter or Giddens or whatever. But I'm like, Taj Brooks is like a running back, like a real running back. So like maybe he's just the guy. But with Blue, it's not as much that I don't think he's good. I actually do think he's good. I just think he's good in like a specific way. And like, it's not even as much being overconfident that he's bad. It's more just like, is he actually a running back? Like in the traditional sense that you hand them the ball a lot. And it's just like the evidence is no. So that's how you end up with 30% Miles Sanders. But I don't think
the answer is going to be Lepke, by the way. Hunter Lepke is going to be the guy you want.
Lepke's definitely is definitely
save it for last call.
Going to play. Yeah.
Save it for last call.
I will not.
Dead or alive receivers quickly. Anybody here interesting? Jalen Polk. You don't have to sing. You don't have to sing. Malachi Corley.
Jalen Polk is not interesting.
Roman Wilson, Luke McCaffrey. I like Wilson, but
Roman Wilson,
wide receiver. I would rather take Booty than Jalen Polk. I would rather take Efton Chisholm than Jalen Polk.
Efton Chisholm has got to be like. Are we this? I've never believed we're in a simulation, but that feels like what would happen in a simulation.
Oh, Drake May is starting to call him by his nickname. There was a Chiz. I think he's just
Chiz. We've run out of names.
Efton Chisholm is definitely the most Sid Finch player that has existed this summer.
Roman Wilson.
Shope, you've got to get that reference.
I did. I got it the last time you mentioned it. I got it.
I didn't hear it.
The 7 foot tall, made up Mets
I said Efton Chisholm is a Sid Finch player.
It's a George Plimpton creation. Yes.
Yeah.
Roman Wilson.
I believe in none of these players.
I'll make one stand. One guy I'll have more of than the field is Roman Wilson. 3rd round pick.
He's the only clickable name here.
It's a skill set that this team needs now. Like they actually need someone who can kind of win down the field and on the outside, and he can play in the slot as well. Like it probably won't work, and they'll probably just play Van Jefferson and Calvin Austin and Alan Lazard. But I mean, particularly if they do not trade, if they don't trade,
Alan Lazard is on the team.
He is. He's on the team in spirit.
Yeah.
I don't care where he physically is or what contract he signed. He's a fucking Steeler.
It's like how McCole Hardman is technically a Packer right now, but by week 4 he'll be back from Kansas City. I think Roman Wilson I liked as a prospect, and he just had like one of those rookie years, right? Sometimes
injured right away.
Right away. It just like doesn't. It just.
Have you guys seen the Mark Cable thirst for Roman Wilson?
Yeah,
he keeps talking about how like jacked he is and stuff, and it's like he looks like a totally normal NFL player. But
Jacob wanted one good report on Kendre Miller. There is more than one good report on Roman Wilson far from Steelers minicamp.
Yeah, I'm gonna need some corroborating reports.
Another of our heroes doesn't get enough credit. Zach Lenars did a smart thing with last call, moving everybody into position groups. So instead of dates, now you can see how your teams are coming together.
Look at that.
We're looking for players, and no overlap is allowed. Once they're picked, they're yours and only yours. Players with an ADP of 200 or higher. And there are still enough names left here, I think, to mess around with. Anybody have one?
Yeah, I have what I think is a smash. I'm going to take Elijah Moore for the Buffalo Bills. Based on my reading of the tea leaves, I think they want him to play ahead, or right now he is ahead of Curtis Samuel in the pecking order. So in the hierarchy of guys who can only run 57% of the routes for the Buff, which is frankly everyone actually running 57% of the routes, he seems like the one who is getting the best reviews thus far. And if he just runs into 57% of the routes. That is a super useful round 18 pick.
Love it. And if you look at Davis's team, guys, I mean, it's time for him to draft a receiver here. This is a wide receiver round for Davis, I think. Wide receiver 5 on this roster.
Sorry,
I'm ready unless you are.
I was trying to make a pick. Did you take Roman Wilson? Was that what I heard?
No, you can.
I took him last week.
No, who did you take?
Elijah Moore.
Elijah Moore. Okay. All right. That's a terrible pick.
No, it's in the books. It's been made. The button has been released.
Oh my god.
Pat?
I don't know who I'm gonna take yet.
I'll go. Jacob, you want to go? I'll go.
No, you can go for it.
I will take Ben Sinnott.
Oh. Cornering the market on fullbacks here.
Yes. Scott Barrett's podcast, School of Scott, had Max Toscana on last week. Really good stuff on tight ends. And he was asked toward the end, it was Scott and Theo. And they asked him, like, who's a tight end? Something like, who's somebody we're just not talking about that maybe is good? And he said Sinnott, just quickly. So with a hat tip in that direction, I'll add him to my team.
All right. I'm going to do a tight end because I only have one, which I'm confronted with now with this visual. And I will take a guy that I've actually been clicking lately, and it's pretty disgusting. But I will take Tyler Conklin.
Right.
Yeah, that's pretty gross, brother.
That is pretty right there.
Hey, completely unrelated. Should we expand the number of available picks in this game to like 180?
No. By August, like we need to be like Justin Watson needs to come up.
Oh god, this game.
There will be interesting names for this. Then I mean, once we get well into training camp, there are still guys we've never mentioned once who I think will.
Look, I'm more and more of my players are gaining employment every day. Nick Chubb has now signed a contract. Amari Cooper, your call, brother. Get on board.
Tyler Conklin. Sinnott is somebody I've been clicking to because Washington is hard to stack, and I'd rather do that in the last pick of the draft than Ertz. And Pat, you ready for one here?
I'm ready for one.
Conklin pick. I'm getting a lot of good feedback.
I'm gonna do my move is to take the guys who've just fallen. They're the new additions. Welcome them to the 200+ group. I'll go ahead and take Jalen Coker.
Like it.
Who is 200.8.
Wait, he's 200?
He is
just
now
hit 200.
Yeah, that was my plan B.
How do I not take Coker? I have like the most Coker of any person in this fucking
I'm gonna get so much leverage on you when I take
I just didn't know that he was 200 because I have him ranked at like 170. I have 35% Jalen Coker.
Well,
Jacob
Pat did the work. Pat did the research.
You just got the best pick in the whole player pool.
Jacob's Jacquard tree this year is going to look like my Jacquard tree from last year, and I really hope his results are better.
We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We got 10 guys over 30. Miles Sanders is definitely the most disgusting. The rest of them are fun players, like Jalen Coker.
Yeah, it fits.
Yeah, Coker's fun. And this to remind people what we're doing here.
Damn it.
The only rounds that count are the last 3 weeks of the season. So I've been kind of locked out at quarterback here, but I might be able to survive because only the last 3 weeks count. But Jalen Coker, another guy, he's not a rookie, but a back-weighted bet. You know, you're betting on Thielen finally truly tailing off. Coker gets more work at the end of the season.
Hopefully, these are not our only live teams.
Sorry, man.
By the end of the season,
I went last.
This is the opposite of like I don't actually know what DJ Moore's ADP is because I have him ranked in the 6th round. I don't know that Jalen Coker's falling into the 200s because I still have him ranked at like 170. So it's like the anti DJ Moore scenario where I'm just clicking him in the 15th, entirely unaware that he is gettable in ADP.
Wow, Jalen Coker's still here.
Davis, where are you off to?
We're doing this whole cast in about 8 minutes. I probably have time to go eat a protein bar before we start. So that is perfect timing for me.
You're welcome. Jacob, what's up this week?
Well, I had 2 articles that I wrote last week that were like mostly just getting mad on Twitter and then writing about it in a slightly more measured fashion. I wrote a little bit about the Jags backfield. I wrote a bit about the Denver backfield. Reposted an old piece on, I think, how we should think about running backs stealing touches and sort of how pies get distributed. It's a nice little King Lear reference in there for the Davis heads. And I'll be on
people hated that, by the way. They did not enjoy the NFL to Hamlet comparisons. That was
really
very negative. Yeah, really? When we started doing that in the chat, people were big angry.
They wanted more hockey, I guess.
They wanted more hockey.
Yeah. Someone in the chat today did
Where's the
say,
map?
When's the hockey talk? This is too much football.
Where are the kids?
6-1. Marchand scores after 58 seconds. What is there even to talk about?
I don't want to talk about it.
Quota filled.
Is King Lear a rapper? That's an awesome comment. All right. Yeah, I will. Anyway, there'll be more stuff on Thinking About Thinking probably this week. I have a few things in the hopper. And then I'll be on with Coach Speak Index tomorrow, streaming a best ball draft. If people want to check it out. How do you say tomorrow?
Like that.
Like
how you
just said tomorrow.
You said tomorrow.
Yeah,
tomorrow?
As disbanded Brotherhood. No, it's a protein bar and a flat Diet Coke.
Oh, come on,
no,
is that real?
No.
Okay.
I don't. I finished I finished my Diet Coke. All the way yesterday's lunch, so I'm having a fresh, nice new can.
Well, I'd say Pat got the Diet Coke post 200. I've been taking the full Coke,
full price.
Full Coke. I got the
Diet Coker. Pat, how about you this week?
Yeah,
we I'm out here in New York, but still working, still writing, working on a tight end article. I've got we'll have an article on Leg Up from Matt Irby this week. And then some if people have missed it, we've been teasing some upcoming updates to the Sidekick using Shady Sims. Check that out. We put out a YouTube video on that, but we'll have more on that soon. And some more exciting news coming regarding the Sidekick in the next week or so.
Very good. You can find me as always at WGR in Buffalo on the Odyssey app, 3 to 7 weekdays, Bills mandatory minicamp this week. And if just watching or listening is not enough, you can find me on the sidelines Saturday, Sunday at the Ohio Lacrosse Classic in New Albany, Ohio, outside of Columbus, watching my son play. Happy Father's Day.
We can find Shope getting angry that the Pirates announcers are not disclosing that they're not at the stadium.
Anytime. I don't know. I got very little reaction to that, but it just seems so wrong if you're watching a broadcast and the announcers are not there and they don't tell you. And that was MLB Network with Marlins Pirates last night. It just started to just drive me nuts.
Okay, I do have a question.
I'm with you, man.
Why are you watching Marlins Pirates?
I don't get TNT.
Skeens wasn't starting. There's no reason to watch.
No, Yuri Perez, but fair.
Fair enough. Fair. You know what? That's fair. Actually,
his return.
What was happening? Are they just watching like a TV with the sound off? Oh my God.
Tom Verducci and the play-by-play guy. There was one long fly ball down the left field line that was foul, and they showed a replay of it. He was there. He's not in the stadium. They showed a replay of it, and he goes, "Oh, that was closer to a home run than I thought." Like, you're not at the game. I have the same qualified opinion of where that ball was headed as you do. So, yeah, that just seems wrong. Thanks for bringing that up. Davis cutting into his own time to eat by bringing this up. You got to respect the professionalism on display right there. Happy Father's Day, Pat, and to all the dads. Enjoy your Father's Day weekends. We'll see you next time.